Rise and shine, day 10, and it's a Monday. Look, y'all. Oh my goodness. Look at those colors, purple and pink and mango. I love mangoes, so I'll choose to call that color mango. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Still very cold. So I'm going to try to put a glove on here real quick, at least one, and keep it warm. Hi. Hi. There's a dog out walking, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Very curious. He's not walking alone. Anyway, so as I was trying to get a message for myself today, because I'm hoping that this helps other people. I've been getting lots and lots of comments and feedback in various places where I'm posting this, that it is helpful. But really, selfishly, this is for me because I need it. But that's what, when we do things that are right for us, they're usually helpful for other people. That's kind of how you can even check yourself when it's for the common good. And you share it and you don't keep it to yourself. So reading the book of Exodus this morning, boy, if you want a page turner, no wonder so many movies have been made out of it and songs and books written about it. It's an epic adventure where God really rescues his people, and even in the midst of it, and he's saying, calm down, stick to the plan. That was the overall message I got this morning. There were lots of words floating around in there, and they were still grumbling and complaining. But can't you identify with that? We have to live in the here and now. God's got the whole picture and the whole plan. He knows. And he does reassure us, but man, it's hard. Even in a given day, in an hour, I am I probably have a little bit of ADD, if we're honest. I've never been officially diagnosed, but I suffer from feeling scattered, unfocused, interested in so many things would be the positive spin on that. I'm interested in everything. I want to learn. I want to know everything. But I can flit around like a squirrel or a rabbit, in the business world or the entrepreneurial world. This can be known also as the shiny object syndrome. Does that resonate with you? You're like, oh, over there. Let's go over there. And you had a plan. And you have faith in the plan and you know it's going to work. And yet, in our human mind, we get intrigued by something else or somebody else doing something, and we're like, oh, and it gets us off our game. They don't. We do. We do that to ourselves. And then we can even go off in this new direction, or even if we stick with the plan, we can still feel this sense of restlessness or disappointment, that grumbling, like the Israelites did. Well, we should have just stayed back in Egypt. I know we were slaves and it was bad, but it's better than being dead here, right? I can identify. And yet I know in the church world, we're often oh, I can't believe they grumbled and they didn't trust. I'm like, really? If you were there, let's be real. If you were there in that moment, would you be oh, yep, I'm trusting? Moses even doubted, and he was the one who was really given the vision and the power. And he was like, are you sure? God, me? I don't know. I don't know, Pharaoh's not buying this. Anyway, so if you haven't read that story, none of this may make sense. But you're human, so it probably does. Because this is part of the human struggle. We have a plan, especially this time of year, right? We're famous for making plans this time of year. Yep, and we're resolved and we're committed. And then February rolls around and we're like, well, maybe. Yeah, it's the plan that doesn't work, not the fact that you're not sticking to it. And in my coaching practice and world, I hear this a lot. Hey, in the mirror, I hear this a lot. Yeah, it's just the wrong plan. Well, really? Then why do so many people have success with it? Now, there is something to be said for finding the plan that you will do. There is a lot of self-awareness that needs to happen. And there are definitely things that when you know yourself, you can customize and tailor things. But at the end of the day, even with that, you've got to stick to it. You've got to do it. It doesn't just get done on its own. There's no motivation fairy that just flits around every morning and goes, okay, here's your morning dose of motivation. And you're going to do all the things. No, you've got to stick to it even when you don't want to, even when everything is going haywire. That's kind of faith, trust, commitment, like all these other words that were floating around in my head this morning. Hi, Joan. Good morning. And look at that. Woo, it's going to be a good one. It is a good one. It's still cold, but it's clear. Seems to be the start of January, at least in my area. It's either warm and rainy and cloudy, or it's bitter cold and sunshiny. The stars were beautiful this morning. Anyway, see, this is what I do. Even when I talk, I veer off, and then I've got to bring myself back. So, and that's what I did this morning too. I had made a commitment late in 2020 that I was going to get on my rower because I love rowing. And I had even made a bold pronouncement that I was going to do a rowing marathon. And by the time, in the month of my birthday this year, 50th birthday in May, and I didn't stick to my plan. Now, I'm getting back on it. Ooh, I can't believe I told you all that, because now y'all are going to probably hold me accountable, right? But really, it's that commitment to myself. It's the internal that really causes the struggle. And then we try to justify and rationalize. You ever break down that word? Rational lie. We rationalize to ourselves versus, just stick to the plan. The plan will work. Almost any plan will work. It's the sticking to it. And then we will, blame it on something else. For me, I traveled in December and I did not have a rower available to me. And so I said, it'll be fine. It's just a week. I'll get back home and I'll just get right back on that rower. But you know what? Then Christmas came and New Year's and the busyness, and it was like, kind of blamed it on the busyness. Girl, you have 30 minutes a day. And sometimes 10 minutes a day would have been great. But yeah. So whatever, you have committed to for this year, I'd love to know if you drop a comment below. And do you find yourself, how do you stick to it? What do you do? For me, making broad public proclamations helps me, like this self-awareness, and then making it easy as possible. And so kind of setting the bar low and picking something that I like. With the rower, one of the reasons I like the rower and it works for me is that I have knee problems and hip problems. Well, it bends those parts of my body that need that. I can sit there and watch, I can read, I can watch a program. I can even close my eyes on a rower because you're sitting there. It's like muscle memory movement. It's kind of one movement. So for me, easy, simple, multi-purpose, like even this, I'm getting a few steps in. I'm getting my, a little bit of what I wanted to do as far as motivating myself and getting out here in the sunshine and sharing. So sharing is another way for me. I think I started off by saying it. So anywho, I've talked a little bit more than usual, I think, today. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up so you can get on with your day. And I would love for you to comment. And I usually follow this up within a couple of hours with a written post. And I'm getting encouragement to turn this maybe into a little daily devotional. I love a guided journal. I could let's see doing that. So maybe I'll even do that for myself as we go along. So stick to the plan. The plans work when you work them and you stick to them. And don't go backwards to the land of familiar where it wasn't working, but you want to go back there just because it's familiar and comfortable. No, God has better things for us. He wants to free us from the slavery of that, just like he did for the Israelites. And I think it was in chapter 14, verse 13. Don't quote me. But somewhere in that neighborhood, in the 13th and 14th chapter, when he literally says, calm down, watch me work, watch me rescue you. While just 2 sentences before that, they were like, oh, I'd rather be a slave than be dead, in the promised land. And he says, I've got a plan. I'm sticking to it. Trust me, it's going to work out. Just stick with me and let's stick to the plan that Moses has already told you about. And even in the rough parts and even on the days when you're like, your human brain is like, there is no way in heck. I almost let an F word fly. That wouldn't be very good. There is no way. Well, there is a way. Stick to the plan. And if you get off plan, just like I'm doing today, like just dust yourself off and get back to it. It's never too late. God's mercies are new every day. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you can dust yourself off. Progress over perfection. Get back to it. Bye.